I'm not in Alaska anymore. That is a disc golf basket. If you're not familiar with disc golf, then I have an old video from like 5 years ago in which I show how to play disc golf. It is more or less the same rules as golf, but you throw these discs into baskets like that. And so I'm here in Northern California, near the town of Ukiah. I've recorded lots of videos from here before. This is where my mom lives. She has gone on vacation for a week, and so I'm here house sitting for the next week before I fly to Asia in a week from today. I will talk on that more in a second, but I'm going to walk up this path here. I've recorded videos walking up this trail before, but I don't think that I had ever shown the fact that it's right next to a disc golf course. It's a nice one. I learned how to play disc golf here and have then played the game at other courses around the country. Like if I go visit my dad, then there's disc golf courses in the town where he lives, and so I'll often play a game there and some other places. All right, so going to take the trail to the left. It is nice and warm, even though it is like 5:30, maybe getting on 6 in the evening. The sun hasn't actually set yet. You can see still shining over there, but it's gone behind that mountain there. And so it is a whole lot warmer than Alaska. You know, I was up there for a month. It feels more like summer now here in late September than it did any time that I was in Alaska, even though I arrived there in the middle of August. So a nice change of weather. So I thought that I would answer the question that some people had asked about my job in Alaska. Now, a few people had asked if I could show the place where I was actually working, you know, do a little video showing what I was doing, what the environment was like, the people I was working with and stuff. And I just never got around to it. I was just, you know, focused on the work, and I just never even thought to grab my camera before going to work. For one thing, because it was a really, really tough, brutal job. That was pretty much the toughest job that I've ever had. And I've had a lot of different types of jobs, done various kinds of work over, you know, my adult life. Lots of just random things. You know, I've done construction work and chopping firewood and all kinds of stuff. I even washed dishes once before at the university that I graduated from, Humboldt State University in Arcata, Northern California, north of here a few hours. But nothing quite compared to this job in terms of just the full-on intensity. All right, gonna pass some people here. It is so dry here, as you can see. You can imagine why there are all these forest fires going on. I don't know what the latest is with those, if they're still raging or not, but they certainly were very recently. And so the job was tough just because it was like a super busy restaurant. It was a big restaurant. There would be like 250, 300 reservations in one dinner. And so the working crew, just the dishwashing crew, was like 5 to 6 people just washing the dishes. And so you were jammed in there in the dishwashing area. You all had your own sort of separate little duties. There was the person who was spraying off the dishes, loading the racks, and then stuffing the racks into the industrial dishwasher. And then it's one of those things that you just like shove it through it, and it takes just a couple of minutes to come out the other side, and it's just like splashing water all over the place. And then another person would be unloading those dishes onto a rack, and then another person would be stacking the dishes and then taking armloads of those dishes and then distributing them around the kitchen. And then another person would be in what was called the dish pit, which is where all the you know, super dirty pots and pans ended up, and so you're just like scrubbing away on those. And then someone else might be like helping out with the loading of the dishes or running the dishes or whatever. And so it was just like super full on. My shift was 4 p.m. till midnight, so kind of weird hours. And I would arrive there at 4, and it was, mellow the first couple of hours because it wasn't into dinner yet. But then as soon as the dinner rush started to hit after 6 o'clock or so, then it was just full on, nonstop, hardcore, like just running your butt off, trying to get those dishes done. And then the restaurant would close at 10 p.m. and then it was 2 hours of cleanup to get ready to get out of there at midnight and then catch the shuttle bus at 12:05 back to the employee housing in Healy, because the place where I was living was 10 miles north of Denali Park where I was working, and the shuttle buses run once every hour. And so you don't want to miss that shuttle bus, especially at midnight, and be stuck hanging out for an hour. And so we would be just like jamming on things to try to get that done until midnight. Now here's an interesting little tidbit, which is that I arrived at that job and didn't know anyone yet that worked there. Some of you might have seen that video where I'm hiking along with my backpack going to that job. I recorded a couple of videos right before starting working there. So I get there and report for work. Well, I went to like employee housing first and dropped off my backpack and stuff, and then came back ready to work. And they say, "Well, go to this, you're working at the King Salmon restaurant." And so I show up and I go to like the front reception lady, the hostess, and end up waiting there for a little bit and kind of talking with her. And so I ask her, she has an accent, I ask her, "Where are you from?" And she says, "Bulgaria." And I'm like, whoa, I've never met anyone from Bulgaria in my life. And I was just traveling in the Balkans. I never met any Bulgarians in Croatia or Macedonia or Albania or anything. First Bulgarian I can recall ever having met. And I meet her here in Alaska, in Denali National Park of all places. So that was just kind of strange. I was like, wow, what are the chances of that? And so finally they send me over to the kitchen where I'm going to be working. And I go to meet the other dishwashers, and they're all Bulgarians. And there was some work visa arrangement, obviously, in the Balkans, because like half of the employees there, not just the dishwashers, but all throughout the kitchen and like throughout the housekeepers and everything, were from the Balkans, Bulgarians, and then some Macedonians, Montenegrins. I met an Albanian. And so that was kind of a trip, because I came back from the Balkans, like wanting to come back to the U.S. and kind of feeling traveled out and stuff, and then come up here and end up hanging out with all these people from the Balkans. There was one Alaskan guy, and he got fired like a week after I got there. He'd been there a couple months, but something like came back on his record, like something he'd done in the past. It was too bad, because he was a good dishwasher. He would do the dish pit and just jam away on that for hours and hours. So we were bummed to have him get fired. And then there was one other American guy as far as the dishwashers go, and then otherwise, then they were all from the Balkans in general. So anyways, that is the situation with the work. It was tough. I would get seriously sore, especially because I would oftentimes get stuck being the person that was carrying the stacks of dishes off the rack and distributing them throughout the kitchen, because everybody else avoided that job because it was the most physically demanding one, because you had to move. You weren't just standing in one place. And so I kept getting stuck there, and then I would have to kind of cajole people into doing it and trade jobs with them and stuff, and it was kind of this constant annoying thing. But they were nice guys. There was one girl, but otherwise it was all guys. And it was cool to hang out with some foreigners there and get a little taste of Bulgaria. It certainly left me intrigued to go visit there sometime. I was thinking of doing that on that last trip anyways, but didn't make it, so maybe another time. As I mentioned in the video about the Northern Lights, and I had a roommate from Alaska, an 18-year-old guy, nice guy. It was nice accommodation, and it was super cheap. It was just $450 for not just the room, but for a meal plan as well. So $450 for the month, room and board covered. And then I spent almost no money while I was there. I had like 20 bucks, a $20 bill in my like wallet for like 2 weeks, and I was like waiting to have to go get some more cash. And it took like 2 weeks for me to run down that 20 bucks because, you know, I just wasn't, you know, going out and partying or anything like that. And so that was, as I explained in that other video, the point of that job. It wasn't about making 10 bucks an hour. You know, that didn't add up all that much. But it's still, you know, I saved something just from the wages, but also it was about the affordable housing, almost no expenses, and the fact that I still get my YouTube income for that month. And so that just totally put me ahead, just that month's worth of work, kind of, you know, pausing the expenses, the traveling expenses, which are a hell of a lot more than $450 a month, and instead working, having cheap housing, and then still getting my YouTube paycheck. And so that put me ahead in terms of, before that, I'd been breaking even with the expenses, not much extra in the bank, and that puts some more in the bank. So now I'm super set for coming travels this winter. So I finished up the job last week, went up to Fairbanks for a couple of days, and then flew down to California a couple days ago. So as for where I'm going next, so I'm flying from San Francisco a week from today to Singapore. So I'm actually going to Thailand once again, and the reason is that a friend of mine who lives in Australia, who I traveled with once before, almost 4 years ago, Maria, had some vacation time again, and wrote me and asked if I was, you know, thinking of traveling to Thailand, and the timing just worked out good, and I couldn't make up my mind where I was going next. Thailand was sounding like a nice option anyways, and so I was thinking about it, and so that just kind of settled it, like, all right, let's check flights. Found a super cheap flight for $350 one way from San Fran to Singapore, and then a cheap flight on AirAsia for like $80, including baggage, from Singapore up to Krabi, Thailand, which I haven't been to yet, but I've been curious to go and see it. And so I'll be meeting Maria either in Krabi or maybe on Koh Lanta, because we're thinking of going to Koh Lanta, and then we will be traveling together for a little less than 2 weeks, and then she has to fly back to Australia, and then after that probably hang out in Thailand for a bit longer. Check out that view, the Ukiah Valley here. And so probably spend another couple of weeks in Thailand, because you get 30 days on entry, visa free. You don't need a advance visa. You get what's called a visa waiver, and so you can show up at the airport with your passport and just enter the country. And you can also leave, do what's called a visa run, and leave Thailand, just go into Malaysia or Myanmar or Laos or Cambodia, and then if you want, come right back that exact same day and get another 30 days, depending of course on your country where your passport is issued from. Now as for Singapore, so I made a silly traveler's mistake, which is that I booked my flight leaving on October 3rd, and I was, you know, looking very closely at the flight details, as I always do, to make sure I had the dates correct. And the way that I understood it was because I wasn't seeing any apparent other date other than the 3rd. The flight in total, flights and layovers, comes to about 24 hours. And I'm flying over the international date line. And so I concluded, okay, it's going to take about 24 hours for this flight, but then I'm gaining a full day, 24 hours, and so I must be arriving the same morning that I'm departing. So I depart the morning of October 3rd, and then I managed to arrive in Singapore on the morning of October 3rd. And so I booked the flight, and then sometime later, a week or two or something later, then I was planning to book accommodation, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to double check, make sure I got this figured out. And I start looking closely, and then I realized, oh wait, it says that my layover in China is on the 4th. Huh. But then I have 2 more flights after that. Oh crap, I got it backwards. I fly over the international date line, and I do not gain a day, I lose a day. And so I actually arrive on the 5th. I arrived 2 days later than I thought. Fortunately, I hadn't booked my accommodation. However, I had booked my flight from Singapore up to Krabi, Thailand. The good thing is that I booked it for the 6th, because just talking with Maria in terms of what dates worked for her, I wanted to have longer in Singapore. I wanted like maybe 3, 4, 5 days, but decided just to do 2 days. That was better than nothing. Unfortunately, those 2 days get completely erased by my mistake, and so I arrive on the 5th and then fly out on the 6th. So I do have 1 day still in Singapore, but I'm going to be like, you know, totally exhausted, arriving there in the morning, go to the hotel, hopefully get a little bit of sleep, and then have the afternoon or evening or whatever just to walk around a little bit and do a little exploring, and maybe just do like an unedited video or something like that. I've been to Singapore before, and so you can look down below if you want and see a video about disc golf that I mentioned at the beginning, and also my old Singapore video. But I do want to still go back to Singapore and explore some more, so it's quite possible that after Thailand, maybe I'll fly into Singapore, or even go overland through Malaysia down to Singapore, and then fly out of there to wherever I go next, and get a few more days there to check it out and make some videos. And so as for where I might go after Thailand, I really don't know at all. I'm kind of, you know, thinking of some possibilities. Maybe go to Myanmar, maybe Sri Lanka, quite possibly go back to India and just go chill in Rishikesh, which is a nice, sort of pleasant, easy place to hang out. I'm just not completely feeling ready for like a big adventure to totally new, unfamiliar lands at the moment. So I'll just see how I'm feeling and figure it out in, you know, a month or whatever after I'm hanging out in Thailand. So there you go. That is the travel plans update. Flying to Asia in a week. Stay tuned. And so things will get fun. Maria's really cool, and so it's gonna be a fun time. All right. Take it easy, and I will probably be posting some more videos from here. I have a few different things. I want to do a review of the Icontex camera that I got here. Also, I managed to return the Canon G7X, which I had mentioned in previous videos I wasn't completely happy with. You know, I could have used it. It was still a pretty decent camera, but for the money that I paid, then I wanted something that I was genuinely happy with. And so this was my chance to return it. They gave me a refund even though it was late, just because of the circumstances. So that was cool. That's in the mail. And then I have a GoPro Hero 5 in the mail that's supposed to arrive tomorrow. So I will have my Icontex here and the new GoPro. And then I might look into some other cameras either before I take off or sometime when I come back, or even while I'm traveling, who knows. But anyways, I'll be doing pretty good with this thing and the GoPro. All right, take it easy. More coming from California and then Asia.